Revealed, Millionaire's Mockery turned to shock when Maid discovered hidden dance talent. Grace had heard the whispers behind her back long enough. Rich friends of her employer, chuckling like school kids at the lunch table while she scrubbed the grand floors of a house that gleamed like a museum. She tried to ignore it, focusing instead on her two spirited children and her ailing mother, who lay weak in the hospital. But deep inside, her heart ached for the dreams she once dared to chase. The graceful twirls and lively rhythms of a dancer. Each day was a battle. As the head maid of the Rodriguez family, Grace worked tirelessly, dusting ornate chandeliers, shining marble countertops, and carefully arranging bouquets that would wow the high society guests visiting for their extravagant soiree. And behind her honest labor, there was a quiet sacrifice, her dreams slowly being buried under piles of laundry and the weight of responsibility. Her mother's laughter used to echo through the living room, filling every corner of their small home like music, urging Grace to pursue those late-night dance classes. But those days felt lost now. Then, one fateful evening, while cleaning out a forgotten drawer in the attic, Grace stumbled upon an old video cassette. Her hands trembled as she blew off the dust and popped it into the ancient VCR. The screen flickered to life, and there was her mother, vibrant and full of life, dancing like a ray of sunshine at the community center. Each movement was pure magic, a beautiful reminder of what Grace had once wanted for herself. Tears streamed down her face as memories flooded back, carrying with them a spark long extinguished. Her mother's spirit radiated joy through the screen, and for the first time in years, Grace felt that fire ignite within her. Every night after she tucked her children in, she silently climbed the attic stairs, closing the door behind her like sealing away the world. The wood beneath her feet creaked as she practiced simple spins, building her confidence with every attempt. The rhythm of her mother's laughter echoed in her ears, a soft reminder urging her not to give up. Still, the upcoming charity gala loomed over her like a storm. The thought of competing against the talented performers showcased by her employer made her chest tighten. Even imagining stepping onto a stage after years in the shadows made her heart race. What would their high society friends think? They'd never see her as anything but the help, a maid dressed in crisp black and white, invisible among the elite. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. On gala night, as guests swirled in designer gowns and tailored suits beneath sparkling chandeliers, Grace's heart pounded in her chest. Would they even notice her? Would they finally see the woman beyond the apron? As she stepped onto the stage, everything faded into a blur. The world around her fell silent. And then she danced. Each spin carried her mother's essence. Each step screamed her dreams, and as she lost herself in the music, she felt the audience stir. They began to shift, their whispers turning into gasps as the maid wowed them with unrestrained talent. But just as the applause crescendoed, her children's proud faces broke through the crowd, simple yet powerful reminders of why she fought. As a tug of dread crept in, an unexpected confrontation with the Rodriguez family emerged. They had overlooked her brilliance for too long, and tonight would change everything. Would Grace find the recognition she deserved, or would the barriers of social class crush her dreams once again? The applause rang in Grace's ears, but it felt muted, as though she were submerged underwater. The gasps and cheers from the guests blended into a distant roar. Her heart raced, but a mix of exhilaration and fear tightened in her chest. She could see the Rodriguez family standing at the front, their faces a mask of surprise and disbelief. "Grace," Mrs. Rodriguez whispered, almost as if she couldn't fathom that the maid dancing on the stage was the same woman who polished their silver and delivered their iced tea. The realization swept through the crowd, eyes darting from her to the family, as if trying to unravel this unexpected puzzle. In that moment, Grace swayed to the rhythm, adding small flourishes to her dance, drawing energy from her children's beaming smiles in the audience. The steps felt like they had a life of their own, pulsating with all the years of denial and longing bottled up within her. It was more than simply performing. It was a release. Then came the crescendo of the music, and with it, a determination bubbled up from deep within her. She launched into a series of spins, allowing herself to become one with the song. Each rotation carried more than just her body. They held her dreams, her mother's laughter, and the weight of everything she had sacrificed. The audience leaned forward, captivated, as if they were finally catching sight of a beautiful truth. But then the music stopped abruptly. Grace's final pose left her breathless, chest heaving. The room fell silent, eyes wide not with mockery now, but with something else. Surprise? Oh. For a moment, she could hardly breathe under the weight of their stares. She spotted Mr. Rodriguez, his face transformed from disbelief to a smile, genuine and warm as he clapped, finally breaking the tension. The crowd joined in, applause rippling like waves through the hall. It was intoxicating. The shocked expressions, once full of disdain, now revealed a mixture of admiration and confusion. Who was this woman? Feeling an invisible tether pulling her back down, Grace glanced over to where her children stood, their faces aglow with pride. The same kids who heard whispers about her identity now saw their mother as an unstoppable force. No longer just the maid, but a dancer with a story. Then, before she could fully bask in the moment, Mrs. Rodriguez stepped towards her, her eyes locked onto Grace's with an intensity that felt both intimidating and magnetic. The applause faded into a murmur, and the air shifted. It was as if everyone held their breath, waiting for the inevitable confrontation that had been building since Grace first danced. "Grace," Mrs. Rodriguez began, her voice steady yet laced with uncertainty. "You have something remarkable, something we completely overlooked. I never knew you had such talent." The realization of being seen ignited a flicker of hope within Grace, the kind she hadn't felt in ages. But beneath it all, a question lingered. How could she reconcile the roles they both played? Would she still fit into their world now that she had stepped into the light? As the applause reached another peak, Grace felt the weight of expectations begin to crumble, unveiling a new path before her. Amidst a swirl of emotions, fear, excitement, and the taste of unexpected freedom, she took a step towards Mrs. Rodriguez. The past still lingered like a shadow, but the future seemed to beckon her forward, bold and vivid. Could one performance truly shift everything? Would she dare to dream bigger in a world that had always held her down? The family's response might change everything, but for now, Grace stood on the edge, holding her breath, ready to leap into the unknown. What awaited her now? Would the Rodriguez family become her allies? Or would the boundaries of class still isolate her? Grace swallowed hard as Mrs. Rodriguez stepped closer, a mixture of admiration and disbelief etched on her face. The audience remained transfixed, but the moment felt entirely private. She could sense the shift in perception, a crack forming in the wall of expectation that had long defined her existence. "Thank you," Grace finally managed to say, the words choked with more emotions than they could hold. She glanced quickly at her children, their faces sparkling with pride. In their eyes, she saw everything she had yearned for: acceptance, recognition, love. But could that same recognition extend beyond the stage? Mrs. Rodriguez's smile faltered slightly. "No, I mean it. You have a gift, Grace. Why didn't you ever tell us?" The question hung in the air, sharp and unforgiving. Grace felt her stomach twist. She had built her life on the unyielding foundation of working hard and staying invisible. I didn't think it mattered," she responded, her voice barely above a whisper. "But it does," Mrs. Rodriguez exclaimed, almost fervently. "This could change everything for you." "Have you considered—" "I can't," Grace interrupted, shaking her head, the panic rising inside her. "I'm the maid. I have responsibilities." The weight of expectations felt like chains binding her to the life she knew. "Grace," Mr. Rodriguez's voice broke in, calm yet insistent. "You can't let fear dictate your path. There's so much potential in you." His eyes sparkled with a sincerity that made her heart flutter. She wanted to believe him. She looked out at the crowd, their applause still ringing in her ears, but the cheers now felt like distant echoes of a dream she hadn't known was possible. Tension rippled through the audience as murmurs grew. "She really is special," someone whispered. Grace's cheeks flushed at the praise, yet the doubt loomed larger than ever. What if this was just a moment, fleeting as the evening breeze? What if in daylight it all evaporated, leaving behind only shadows of her aspirations? Then, a realization struck. This was her moment. This was a chance not just for her, but for her children, too. She saw them in the crowd, looking at her with such pride and hope. What would it teach them if she let fear win? Wouldn't they deserve to see her soar, to know she was more than the roles assigned to her? "Maybe you're right," she breathed, her voice steadying. "Maybe I can explore this talent." Mrs. Rodriguez's eyes lit up like stars. "That's the spirit. You deserve a chance to dance freely, Grace. Why not start with classes? Or auditions?" A thrill raced through Grace. This was the support she had longed for. But just as quickly, fear crept in once more. "I don't know if I can," she stumbled, the conflicting emotions escalating within. "Look," Mrs. Rodriguez said, placing a hand over Grace's. "We'll help you. We'll make sure you're not alone. You have a family here now." The realization of suddenly belonging swept over Grace, warm and exhilarating, but also daunting. What did that mean for her relationship with the Rodriguez family? Could she embrace so much change? As the crowd erupted into applause again, Grace felt a shift within her. The past may never fade completely, but maybe she could shape a path toward a new future. With the glimmer of possibility flickering in her heart, Grace finally nodded, a tiny spark of resolve igniting deep within. But just as she felt ready to leap forward, another thought pulled her back. This newfound connection with the Rodriguez family could be a double-edged sword. Could she trust them to stand by her when the shadows from the past came creeping back? What lay ahead could either be her liberation or her downfall, and in that moment, the future felt like an open question, waiting for her to answer. As the applause faded, Grace felt the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders. This glimmer of acceptance felt intoxicating, yet she was still lost in a fog of uncertainty. She glanced at her children, their faces alight with unbridled joy. Their belief in her sent a pulse of warmth through her. But could it be enough to ignite the spark she needed? "Mommy," one of her children called out, their voice cutting through the ambient noise like a dream waking her. "Can you dance for us again? You were amazing." She smiled, touched by their enthusiasm. But even as the warmth spread inside, fear crept back in, relentless and suffocating. What if she couldn't replicate it? What if this magical moment never returned? Those thoughts weren't for her children, they were for her. She had hidden so long in the shadows, and stepping into the light felt both exhilarating and terrifying. "Let us get you home," Mr. Rodriguez suggested, breaking into her reverie. His voice was a steady anchor, and she appreciated it more than she could say. "Yeah, let us get ice cream," her daughter chirped, her eyes sparkling with possibility. Grace could picture the joyful chaos it would bring, but worry melded with her excitement. Would they still see her as their mom, or the woman who now was meant to pursue dreams? As they stepped outside, the night air was cool and refreshing, bringing with it the smell of blooming flowers. But as they walked, an unease stirred within her. The shadows of doubt were the very chains she had fought against for so long. She felt torn between the urge to seize this opportunity and the instinct to retreat back to what she knew. Suddenly, Mrs. Rodriguez turned toward Grace, her expression solemn. "You know, you have the chance to change your story," she said softly. "But it means embracing the unknown." Grace nodded slowly, the weight of those words sinking in. What would her life look like? Could pursuing her passion widen the path for her children? Would they feel proud or burdened by her choices? "My past?" Grace voiced hesitantly, her voice catching. "What if it comes back to haunt me? What if it disrupts everything?" The question hung between them like a fragile thread. Mrs. Rodriguez looked deep into her eyes, unfazed. "Your past shaped you, but it doesn't define you. It's time to write new chapters." Those words struck a chord within Grace. Write new chapters. For so long, she had lived within the margins of someone else's story. She thought of all the small sacrifices she had made for her family, driving herself to invisibility, but now she craved more than just survival. Could she really be a dancer? "Mom, can we get those sprinkles on our ice cream?" Her son piped in, breaking the tension, but still echoing her internal conflict. "Of course," Grace smiled. if only because she needed to believe in something positive. Yet even as they walked together, laughter in the air, her heart raced with anxiety. The world was both inviting and intimidating. She was standing on the edge of something profound. That night, lying awake, Grace stared at the ceiling. With every heartbeat, she felt the fluttering hope ignite a primal force within her. But what if she failed? What if the shadows whispered louder than the cheers? With a heavy sigh, she turned to her side, fighting off sleep as thoughts hammered her mind. Tomorrow she would need to decide, would she walk the untraveled path, or choose the safety of obscurity. And as dawn's light approached, a question lingered. If she chose to leap, would the net be there to catch her, or would she fall alone? The fate of her dreams hung delicately in the balance. The morning light filtered through the thin curtains, casting soft lines across Grace's bedroom. She sat up, her mind buzzing. The world outside her window was waking up, bustling with life and possibilities. Her children's laughter drifted up the stairs, a sweet reminder of what was at stake. Grace took a deep breath, letting the crisp morning air settle her thoughts. She swung her legs over the bed and felt the coolness of the hardwood floor. One foot at a time, she promised herself today would be different. Today, she would make a choice. As she moved through the morning routine, the simple acts of brushing hair, pouring cereal, and tying shoelaces became a meditative dance. Each gesture, each sound layered on her growing determination. She could already see her children watching her. They had sparkles in their eyes, innocent and unwavering. Would they understand? "Are you excited for dance class today?" her daughter asked, her mouth full of cereal. The question sent a rush of warmth through Grace, but it also cracked open her vulnerability. "Yeah, sure, I think I might submit an application to perform again," Grace said, a little hesitantly. The words tasted strange, like a spice she wasn't used to. The kitchen fell silent for a moment. Then her son shouted, "You'll be amazing, Mom. Just like last night." She paused, heart racing, absorbing the encouragement before nodding. "All right, let us see how it goes." But internally, a storm brewed. Each step closer to embracing her passion felt monumental. After breakfast, they headed to the community center where the dance class would take place. As they walked, Grace replayed the memories of her past dances, the rush of adrenaline, the soothing music flowing through her veins. But doubt stubbornly clung to her. What if the moment she stepped back into that studio, everything fell apart? When they arrived, the center was alive with color and laughter. Kids dashed through the halls, practicing their moves. Grace felt a mix of nostalgia and fear wash over her. She found the classroom door, each breath heavy with the anticipation of a leap into the unknown. "Mommy, look," her daughter chimed, pointing at a poster for a dance competition. "You should enter that." Her heart skipped. The thought seemed exhilarating yet terrifying. Grace inhaled deeply and stepped through the door. Inside, the room was mirrors and wooden floors. A familiar smell of sweat and creativity filled the air. The instructor greeted her with a warm smile, a welcoming light amidst the swirl of her emotions. "Great to see you, Grace. Ready to dance?" With every step she took, Grace could feel the previous night's doubts fleeing like shadows in the sun. She felt the music coat her skin, the rhythm winning her heart back. Yet, every twist and turn of the dance felt like a battle, each exhilarating spin tugging at her self-doubt, each leap pulling at her insecurities. When it came time for her to showcase her moves, memories of past failures surged within her. What if they laughed? What if they didn't understand? She stood at the center, trembling. The gazes of others felt heavy, as if they were judging not just her dance, but her entire life. Then she closed her eyes, thinking of her children, for every step, every spin was for them. With a deep breath, she opened her eyes, letting the music drown out her fears. She began to move. The first beat caught her off guard. She sank into the rhythm, letting the memories guide her. She danced like she'd never fear to fall. Laughter erupted from the kids in the corner, echoing a sense of liberation. But as she twirled, a familiar shadow from her past lurked at the edges of her mind. Could she truly leave it behind? The music was powerful enough to drown them out, but would it stay that way? When she finished, caught between exhilaration and terror, the eruption of applause shocked her. They clapped as if she were swept into a whirlwind. Grace stood breathless, the warmth of acceptance washing over her, But just as quickly a thought crashed over the elation what would be required of her. Now, and in that moment of triumph, as heart raced and breath steadied, she realized she had crossed a threshold. But was she ready to confront what lay ahead? Would this new chapter bring her dreams to life or pull her deeper into the shadows lurking behind? The applause rang in her ears, a vibrant echo that made her heart flutter wildly. Surrounded by the summer sunshine pouring through the windows, Grace felt a surge of hope. It was intoxicating, this feeling of approval, but questions lingered like shadows in her mind. "Mom, that was incredible." Her daughter raced over, eyes shining with pride and excitement. Grace smiled, a genuine curve of her lips, but the shadow remained. What if this was just a fluke? What if yesterday's bravery melted into tomorrow's doubt? "Thanks, sweetheart." She leaned down, wrapping her arms around her daughter. There was something sacred in this moment, the warmth of a mother's love blending with the thrill of rediscovery. Yet, just as soon as the joy filled her, the doubts crept back. What were the implications of her dance? Would she be able to meet the expectations being set not just by herself, but by others now? As the class continued, each child took turns standing in the spotlight, sharing laughter and shimmies. Grace joined in, but part of her remained hesitant, held back by that nagging voice whispering memories of rejection and failure. She couldn't shake it. "Invest in yourself, Grace," the instructor said, spinning gracefully from one child to another. "Dance comes from the heart. It's about telling your story." Telling her story? Was that what she was doing? As the class wrapped up, children were buzzing with excitement about their upcoming competition. "Mommy, you should join," her daughter chimed again, pulling at her sleeve. "It'll be so fun." Fun. That word lingered in the air, a bright flash against the cloud of anxiety. Watching her children, the dreams they carried so innocently awakened something within her, a longing that felt almost primal. But as quickly as it sparked, doubt thundered back. What if she fell flat? What if she was mocked? Leaving the center, her thoughts spiraled, mingling with the laughter ahead. She could hear her children recounting every move she made like it was the highlight of their day. Their excitement was infectious, yet Grace couldn't shake the weight pressing on her chest. Later at home, the echoes of applause were replaced by the sounds of crayons on paper, and children's laughter mingled with her active mind. She brewed tea, attempting to ground herself in warmth. As steam curled up, she looked out the window. The sunlight was fading, giving way to an amber glow. "Mom, are you going to be famous now?" her son asked, grinning like he was hiding a secret magic trick. "Famous?" Grace laughed lightly, but the weight of his question hung there. Was that possible? She had been lost in the daily routine for so long. Was there a glimpse of a life where passion and success intertwined? "Maybe one day," she replied, though even as she spoke, her heart danced uneasily. With each sip of her tea, her resolve wavered. She found herself staring at the dance competition poster pinned to the fridge, its colors bright and inviting, yet taunting her fears. What if I didn't just join, but actually won? That thought ignited a flicker of excitement mixed with despair. What if she found herself again, but at the price of opening up to failure once more? Her phone buzzed. An unfamiliar message blinked across the screen. "Just saw you dance today. You moved beautifully. Want to grab coffee and discuss your next steps?" Her breath hitched. A lifeline, yet a daunting one. Who was this person? What did they see in her? As she stared at that message, a rush of pounding excitement wrestled with anxiety in her heart. Was this the moment she would step forward into a new narrative, or would she retreat into the comforts of her worn routine, forever shadowed by doubt? Grace could feel a crack forming in her old armor. Just when she thought she was ready to embrace her passion, the stakes had changed. But was she ready for the challenges that would come with uncovering her true potential? Would she have the courage to pursue this path? Or would she allow fear to pull her back into the safety of shadows? A decision loomed on the horizon, and, suddenly, the thrill of the unknown bled into her veins. Would she be able to grasp it? The message pulsed in front of her, each notification a gentle nudge urging her to respond. The familiar weight of doubt crashed down, like a heavy curtain. What if this person had been mistaken? What if they were merely being polite? Grace felt her gut twist, wrestling with the excitement and uncertainty. With shaky hands, she typed back a hesitant affirmation. "Sure, I'd love to chat." As soon as she hit send, a rush of panic washed over her. What did it even mean to discuss her next steps? She lowered her phone, staring blankly at the dance poster again, a kaleidoscope of colors and aspirations. "Mommy!" Her daughter burst into the kitchen. "Can we dance?" She twirled gracefully, her long hair sweeping behind her like a cape. Just seeing her bright smile sent waves of warmth through Grace. Of course. Grace stood up, heart pounding. She put aside her worries and joined in her daughter's spontaneous ballet. They twirled and leaped, letting laughter intertwine with the music coming from the old radio in the corner. For those few tender moments, the fears slipped away like whispers in the wind, leaving only joy. But as the last note faded, reality charged back in, sharply reminding her of the coffee meeting ahead. Would she be able to keep this newfound joy alive? How could she share her story when she was still piecing together her own identity? The clock ticked, each minute amplifying her anxiety. Who would she meet? An industry person? An enthusiast? As she wondered, anxiety laid a heavy hand on her shoulder. Finally, she grabbed her keys. "I'll figure it out," she whispered to herself as if the words held any power. When she arrived at the cafe, the air was thick with the rich aroma of coffee and distant chatter. Grace took a deep breath, pushing through the door. As her eyes scanned the room, they landed on a woman with short, curly hair and an inviting smile. "Grace?" the woman called. "Yes, that's me." Grace managed a smile, but it felt tight. The woman gestured her over. She had an air of confidence that made Grace take an unsteady breath, feeling both inspired and intimidated. "I'm Mia. I really loved what I saw you do today," she said, a sparkle in her eye. "It was captivating. I'd love to help you explore what this could mean." Grace swallowed, warmth flooding through her. "Thank you," she replied, though doubt tried to creep back in. What were Mia's intentions? Was she truly invested, or just offering a moment's kindness? Over coffee, Mia shared her own journey, her struggles and triumphs in the dance community, her voice animated and full. Grace felt inspired, but as she listened, she couldn't ignore the twinge of envy. Could she really step into that world? Did she have what it takes to chase dreams? "So what do you want?" Mia asked, leaning across the table. The question hung in the air, charged with possibilities and terrifying honesty. A moment stretched before Grace, the weight of self-reflection pressing down. She wanted to answer truthfully, but her voice faltered. Did she truly want to dance? To share her story? Or was this just another fantasy slipping beyond her reach? Forcing a smile, she finally managed, I want to dance. I want my story to matter." Mia nodded, her expression affirming. "Then let us start there. Believe in it." In that moment, the shadows flickered. Maybe she could embrace her passion without fear. Maybe she could build something beautiful from the raw fragments of her hesitation. As their conversation picked up momentum, the promise of something new pulsed in the air. Thoughts swirled in Grace's mind, excitement mingling with fear, anticipation mingled with the unknown. She felt like an artist holding a brush for the first time, ready to make a mark. As they wrapped up the meeting, Mia's words echoed through her, igniting a spark of hope. "You have something special, Grace. Don't hide from it." Walking out into the cleansing sunlight, Grace felt the world shift. It was just a taste, but it awakened something she didn't know was dormant. What if she really could chase this dream? What if this was the beginning of a new chapter? Her heart raced with possibilities, yet a single question remained. Lingering like a whisper, could she trust herself enough to dive headfirst into the world she longed for? A journey loomed just ahead, urging her to step onto the stage. Would she take the leap, or would fear pull her back into the sidelines? Grace stood outside the cafe, the late afternoon sun warming her face. She took a deep breath and let it fill her with courage. This was it. The taste of her heart's yearning lingered on her tongue, sweet yet daunting. The world around her was filled with energy, bustling with people who were on their own adventures. Could she be one of them? With each step she took, her pace quickened, as if her heart was leading the way forward. She had a new resolve, her mind racing with possibilities. The urge to dance, to share her journey, was growing stronger. That evening, after her daughter was tucked in bed and the remnants of the day settled into silence, Grace stood in the living room, the dance poster visible just over her shoulder. She let the music from her phone spill out, filling the space with a gentle rhythm. Each beat called to her, a reminder of the joy she felt with her daughter earlier. She let herself move. The initial awkwardness melted away as she surrendered to the music, flowing like water in a stream. The living room became her stage. The familiar motions felt new again, lifting the weight from her shoulders that a sudden thrill electrified the air. As her body responded to the melody, she stumbled upon something deep inside, a flicker of the confidence she'd just started to uncover. She envisioned herself not just as a mouse in the corner, but as a dancer. All those years of watching, dreaming, and waiting came together in a whirlwind of color and light. Then, the melody shifted, a drumbeat echoing the fears that had tied her down. What if you fail? It whispered. What if no one cares? Those questions darted through her mind, buzzing like persistent flies. Grace halted mid-spin and let out a shaky breath. What if I try? She countered aloud, surprised by her own boldness. Returning to the music, she poured her heart into every gesture. The dance became more than just movement. It was an expression of years of longing, of silent suffering, and of hope for a vibrant future. Each step was therapy, a release, an affirmation of her desires battling against everything that had held her back. Moments turned into hours, and when the music finally faded, Grace dropped to the floor in exhaustion, panting but exhilarated. For the first time in ages, she felt whole. The doubts still lingered like shadows at the edge of her mind, but the spark Mia had ignited was a fire now, refusing to be snuffed out. The next day, she decided on an impulsive whim to record herself dancing. Looking into her phone's camera, she hesitated briefly before pressing record. It felt vulnerable, exposing, but she knew she had to share this piece of herself. She uploaded the video, her hands trembling as she typed a description. Just a dancer finding her voice, she captioned simply. After a moment of contemplation, she closed her eyes. What would happen next? Would anyone respond? Fear curled in her stomach, but deep down, a sliver of hope lingered. That night, as the sun dipped low, Grace returned to the living room. She needed to keep pushing boundaries. Could this be the shift she needed? As notifications began to trickle in, she felt her heart stop for a moment. One after another, likes, comments, strangers resonating with her message. Suddenly, a comment from a profile caught her eye. You have something real, mesmerizing. I'm an agent, and I think we should talk. Her breath hitched. Was this the moment everything changed? Would she seize the opportunity, or fold under the weight of uncertainty? The stakes were higher than they had ever been. This was her chance to step into the world she'd longed to join, a world where she could dance not just as a dreamer, but as someone whose story mattered. She was ready to take the leap, but would she leap forward into the unknown or retreat into safety? The next move loomed larger than life, each option bringing a mix of fear and exhilarating possibility. Grace sat on the edge of her bed, scrolling through the comments on her phone. Each notification sent little shivers of excitement racing through her. The agent's message felt like a lifeline thrown into the stormy sea of doubt that had been her life for so long. She gazed at the screen, at the words affirming her worth, her talent, but inside, turbulence brewed. What if it was all a mistake? What if she wasn't good enough after all? The thoughts crept back, gnawing at her newfound frame of mind. She shook her head fiercely, willing herself to believe. I have to do this, she whispered, as if saying it out loud could solidify her resolve. The next morning, Grace found herself standing in front of her bathroom mirror. Once, she had practiced the art of concealment, covering her insecurities with a smile, hiding her dreams beneath layers of daily routines and responsibilities. But today, the reflection staring back was different. Her hair danced loosely around her shoulders, and a flicker of determination sparked in her eyes. Okay, Grace, this is for you, she said, stepping back and taking a deep breath before answering the agent's request. Hi, my name is Grace, she typed, her heart racing as the words flowed across the screen. I saw your comment about wanting to talk. I'd love to connect. After hitting send, she wanted to run, wanted to hide from the weight of what she had just done. Yet a part of her stood tall, allowing the possibility of change to wrap around her like a warm embrace. She danced through the rest of her routine, her feet light, her spirit lighter. The day dragged on as she waited, each tick of the clock amplifying her nervousness. Would he respond soon? What if he didn't? The minutes felt like hours. Finally, her phone chimed. She jumped, her heart racing. "Hi, Grace." The message read, "Let us meet. How about tomorrow? I'd love to discuss your video and the potential for collaboration." Grace exhaled, a mix of relief and fear flooding her system. The future was suddenly filled with unknowns, and she was being propelled toward them like a dancer drawn to the spotlight. The meeting loomed large in her mind. What would they discuss? Would they see her as more than just a mother, a wife? Could they see the dancer she'd buried for so long? The night before the meeting, she couldn't sleep. Her phone pinged again around midnight, lighting up her darkened room. Another comment and notification from Mia. "You inspire me, Grace. Don't let anyone dim your light." Tears pricked at the edges of Grace's eyes. Smiling, she grasped her phone tightly. Mia believed in her, and maybe she could, too. Morning arrived, crisp and bright. Grace changed her outfit several times before finally settling on a simple, fitted dress that made her feel comfortable and confident. She paired it with her favorite pair of dance shoes, something good for movement, something that reminded her of freedom. As she walked into the coffee shop where they agreed to meet, her heartbeat thrummed in her ears. The agent arrived shortly after, a tall figure with an affable smile. They quickly fell into conversation. He expressed genuine enthusiasm for her video, even mentioning how it stirred something inside him. But just as Grace started to feel momentum building, he leaned in, his expression changing slightly. "There is something important we need to discuss," he said, his tone now more serious. Fear knotted in her stomach. What now? Did he not see the talent he thought he saw? Her mind flooded with doubts. Had she stepped too far into the light only to be met with shadows? As she waited for him to continue, she couldn't shake the feeling that something pivotal was on the horizon, a moment that could tilt her life into the extraordinary or back into the ordinary. What revelation awaited her? Would this be her moment to shine, or would it knock her back down again? Grace held her breath, sensing that the best, and perhaps worst, was yet to come. Grace sat across from the agent, her heart thundering in her chest, each beat echoing her fear and excitement. He leaned back slightly, studying her with a seriousness that made her palms sweaty. "You have a compelling presence," he began, "and your story resonates. However, pursuing a career in dance isn't just about talent. It requires fierce commitment, and sometimes it means stepping beyond the comfort zone you've known." His words sliced through the air like a double-edged sword, leaving Grace breathless. The prospect of change was intoxicating, yet the fear of the unknown gripped her tightly. "What does that mean?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. "It means you might have to leave some things behind: comfort, certain responsibilities," he replied gently, his tone a mix of encouragement and caution. "I believe you have the potential to captivate audiences, but it will take time and sacrifice. Are you ready for that?" Her mind flashed to her children, to her responsibilities as a mother, and to the nurturing bond she had with them. The idea of stepping away, even for her dreams, felt like a weight pressing down on her heart. Yet the flicker of hope she had felt in the last few weeks burned brighter than ever. "I want this. For my children, for myself," she said, her voice gaining strength. "But it's scary. What if I fail?" "Failure is part of growth, Grace," he responded with a reassuring smile. "What matters is the journey, not just the destination. Each step you take will lead to new opportunities." His words wrapped around her, comforting yet challenging. Grace felt a shift within her, a warmth spreading, a determination rising. This was the moment she'd been waiting for. "I'll do it," she declared with newfound resolve. "I'm ready to train, ready to put in the work. I will make this happen." The agent grinned, the tension in the air dissolving. "That is a great attitude. Let us discuss your training schedule, auditions, and building your brand." As they spoke, ideas flowed between them, filling Grace with a vibrant energy. Each word became a stepping stone, bridging her dreams and the reality ahead. By the time their meeting ended, she felt light, buoyed by the knowledge that she was reclaiming her narrative. Walking out of the cafe, she let the sunlight wash over her. The world felt different, alive with possibilities. But as she approached her car, a lingering knot in her stomach remained. How would her family react? Would knowing about her ambition change the dynamics at home? That evening, she gathered her children and sat them down. With their eyes wide and eager, she shared her plans. "Mommy is going to dance again, and I might even perform." Her daughter's eyes lit up. "Like last time? When everyone clapped." Grace nodded, fighting the swell of emotion that threatened to spill over. Yes, just like that. But sometimes, it could be hard, and it might take time to get there. Her son's brow furrowed slightly. Will you be gone? I don't want to be away from you. The truth bubbled up, raw and honest. But I need to grow too. And I want to show you both that it's okay to chase after what you love. After a moment, her daughter squealed. Can we help you practice? Yes. You will be my biggest cheerleaders. Grace exclaimed, her heart soaring. In their enthusiasm, Grace saw not fear, but support, the kind she desperately needed. As weeks turned into months, Grace poured herself into her training. The road wasn't easy. Hours of practice, lessons, and auditions filled her days, juggling motherhood and her ambitions. But with every step forward, she felt the shadows falling away, replaced by a radiant light of hope. One day, after a particularly challenging rehearsal, she returned home exhausted yet fulfilled. Her children rushed to her, nearly knocking her over with their excited chatter. You should have seen the way you moved. You'll be famous. Tears brimmed in Grace's eyes. They recognized her journey, and each moment spent to push past barriers felt worth the exhaustion. Weeks later, a message pinged on her phone, a prominent dance company wished to audition her for an upcoming showcase. The shimmer of anticipation danced in her chest, but so did the familiar flutter of anxiety. Mom, you can do it. Her daughter's words echoed in her mind as she prepared that night. She stood in front of the mirror, practicing her moves, each gesture infused with hope and an unwavering belief in herself. On the day of the audition, she stepped onto the stage, the spotlight bathing her in a warm glow. Every audience member blurred into the background as she fed off the energy around her. This was her moment not just to dance, but to celebrate a journey of transformation. Post-performance, she received a standing ovation, the kind that echoed sweetness and love. As the applause washed over her, she glimpsed her children in the audience. Their fascination, pride, and understanding filled her heart with joy. Days passed, and soon, the call came. The artistic director wanted Grace to join the company. Overwhelmed but determined, she hugged her children tightly, her heart bursting with emotion. This wasn't just her success, it was theirs too. I told you I could do it. We did it, she exclaimed, grinning from ear to ear. In the weeks that followed, Grace began to understand that courage meant more than just chasing her dreams. It was about saying yes to herself and building a future where she could inspire her children to pursue their dreams fearlessly, where they could see their mother not just as the maid, but as a powerful force of creativity and resilience. Together, they wrote new chapters filled with laughter, dance, and love. Now more than ever, Grace believed that she could reach incredible heights, not just for herself, but for the family that had believed in her all along. The shimmering possibility of a new life had become her everyday reality, and she embraced it fully. The journey had just begun, and Grace was more than ready to see where this new narrative would take her. This is the moment you need to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a huge difference. Comment below about your favorite moment from Grace's transformation, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who would love to see this powerful story of hope and courage. You need to support the channel now. Don't wait, not even one more second.